Hi, this is Bill, and you're on Finest Travel Beat with Angela and Bill. On today's video, we're going to take you to one of the most dramatically beautiful places on Earth, Catania, located on the island of Sicily in Italy. As always on our videos, we're going to tell you a little bit about our port call today. We're going to tell you what we did, how we did it, what we liked, what we thought could have been improved, and what we would do next time. And of course, throughout the videos, we'll sprinkle in some information and some tips and tricks that'll make your visit to Sicily or Catania even better than ours was. We arrived about 8 a.m. on our ship, which was a Disney dream, and were greeted by stunning coastline of Sicily's eastern edge. Catania sits between the Ionian Sea and Mount Etna, and trust us, you can't miss either. It was amazing to see how Catania sits at the edge of Mount Etna, and honestly couldn't help but wonder about how smart it was to have a large city located right at the base of an active volcano. When we were getting ready, we heard some music from outside of our cabin, and we went out to the balcony, and we saw that we were greeted by some traditional Sicilian singers and dancers. I just want to show you a little clip of that right now. The excursion we took today was through Disney Cruise Lines, and we are glad we actually did the Disney excursion. We'll explain that to you a little bit throughout the video, and there's Angela doing her little hop step when she gets into Newport. The excursion was to both Mount Etna and also to the seaside town of Taormina. Once again, as Disney is very organized with their excursions, you meet up on the ship and they escort you right out to the buses. There was as you look to the left there was some shops and things like that we did hit on the way back for our last minute souvenirs. We were quickly loaded onto our buses. The buses were very comfortable, nicely air conditioned, excellent for the ride both up to Mount Etna and then also for Taormina. We stayed with the bus the entire day. As we left the port area, as you'll notice, most of the port areas in Europe are pretty industrial. So generally you'd have to take a taxi or an excursion or a shuttle to get into the town. You could walk to Catania itself from the cruise port. On this one, I would say it was probably going to be a 20-minute walk if you wanted to do that and walk around the town. I'll show you a little bit of the bus ride going through Catania. As we do, let me give you a little information about Sicily and Italy. Sicily is the largest island in the Mediterranean. It's an autonomous region of Italy. Has a vast history over the centuries. It's been ruled by the Greeks, the Romans, Arabs, Normans, Spanish. All of those cultures leaving a certain mark in their style and the architecture and even the food. Catania is a large city. Sicily has a total population of about 5 million, with 300,000 of them living in the Catania area alone. The official language is Italian, but there are different dialects. There is a specific Sicilian dialect. That being said, English, as we discovered throughout our trip, the 12 nights that we were in Europe through Spain and Greece as well, English wasn't an issue at all, as most people did speak English. Angela is of Italian ancestry, so she did try to pick up some newer Italian, learned a few phrases, things like hello, goodbye, thank you, please. If you're traveling, that's probably the biggest tip I'll give you, is if you can try to attempt at a couple of words in their native language, it's very, very much appreciated, and then they'll understand and help you along. And the communication really has not been an issue through any of our travels throughout the world. That said, Angela did learn a few words growing up in the Bronx, New York, that probably would not have gone over very well in Italy, if you know what I mean. Also, the local currency is the euro, as it is throughout most of Europe. And as I've mentioned in other videos, you'll want to have a few euros in dollars along with you. Some of the restrooms only accept that you have to pay for, actually, and you have to use a euro coin or get some change. So always have a few euros with you in cash. Otherwise, bring a credit card. We like to have one that is not attached to our bank account. It's a special card with very low limit that we don't really use for much. If it got stolen or compromised, it's not a big deal. Also important to note is that Visa and MasterCard are widely accepted. Discover really isn't in Europe, so you'll have to make other arrangements. The drive up to Mount Etna, to the base of it, was probably about 15 minutes, but the entire trip up to when we got off the bus was probably about 45 minutes or so. It was a real tapestry of Sicily's interior. At the base, there were vineyards lining the road with Sicilian wine, obviously being very famous. As we climbed higher, it was really interesting because the landscape really shifted. It went from vineyards to olive trees towards the top, not towards the top, towards the middle, with chestnut groves. And as you got further and further up, the greenery thinned, and it was replaced, as you can see, by some dark volcanic rock. What you see there is dried up lava, where previous eruptions had affected the landscape. The drive was fantastic. It was so interesting. The road twists, a lot of switchbacks going up as you got higher and higher, between hardened lava fields where the lava had flowed down and lush valleys. It was really like nothing we had ever witnessed before in our lives. We did stop briefly about halfway up so people could walk out onto the lava field and feel the volcanic rock and earth under our feet for the first time, looking across at the various lava flows, the greenery. Again, it just was really an experience of a lifetime, quite frankly. Now, a little bit of why we chose this. Angela and I kind of had different things we wanted to do. You can see there's some ruins of a building that had been destroyed in one of the volcanic eruptions over the centuries. Angela and I had different ideas. She wanted to do the traditional Crateri Taormina, where there's the shops and have some gelato and maybe some pizza. I really wanted to see the volcano. To me, it was just very cool, very natural. So we kind of compromised on this, and we did a tour that incorporated both. We could have done a tour that, there was several tours in Mount Etna that we could have done. This one just took us about, I would say, 3/4 of the way up. There were ones where you would get onto like ATVs and go even further up towards the mouth of the volcano, and much more strenuous hikes. Obviously, Angela and I are not the strenuous hike type, so we chose to do this and then have some time at Taormina, and we'll explain how we would do it differently next time as we go through the video again. Now you can see as we reach the part where we're going to get off and do a little bit of a hike, how the landscape had changed. We arrived there. Here is a large parking lot, a bus parking lot. This is probably where most of the buses are going to take you. From here, there are numerous options that you can take either on your own or through a tour company. There was some carts, as you can see, set up. There was also a visitor center, and then a couple of hikes we could do. We had probably about an hour here. So on the left there was a hike that was a little more strenuous. This one, the one we chose, was to the right, and it just kind of took us to the mouth of one of these smaller craters. Now, this crater was about 6,600 feet above sea level. It was sunny out, and it was warm. It was the middle of summer, but be prepared, it gets pretty cold. Up there where you see the people standing, that's the mouth of one of the volcanoes. Here was another one that people could walk down into and walk along the ledge. bring a jacket and bring layers. This was a warm day; it wasn't bad, but it gets pretty windy up there, and it can get cold if you go when it's a little bit cooler or a little more overcast. My understanding is it can get pretty cold, and from people who talked to that went further up to the top, they said it got really windy and really cold. As always, you're going to want to bring water with you. Bring a hat as well, even when it's cold. The sun is very strong. You may want to bring some sunscreen with you as well. And good walking shoes. It's a volcano. Even though it was well walked on, the terrain was still pretty uneven, a little rocky. As you're going uphill, some people did lose a little bit of their footing. It was not a strenuous walk at all. If you have issues with heights, where we're going here really was not an issue. But as you get really towards the top of these craters, if you walk towards the edge, if you have height issues, that may be an issue. But I would definitely recommend this tour. Even if you do have fear of height, you don't really have to go far up to the edges to get the experience of how fantastic this nature is and this volcano is. I should also note this is named as Crateri Silvestri. The amount of time we had up there was not much. We had about a half an hour to hike, say. It took us about half an hour up there. Then we walked down to a little bar, restaurant, and bathrooms down there. We had about half an hour, 45 minutes before we had to get back on the bus. The other thing I'll mention is that if you need to use a restroom and you get up to Crateri Silvestri, you may want to jump into the store and use the bathrooms before you do the hike. Most people tend to go right up to the hike like we did, walked up to the edge of the crater, and then come back down. And unfortunately, by the time we got back down, the lines to the bathroom were outrageous, especially the women's room. It was very long. Angela waited quite a while. So you might, if you have to use the bathroom, you might want to jump in and use the bathroom there first. We did have a little bit of time in there. I got a Sicilian beer as always. Enjoyed the local beer. There was some volcanic rock jewelry. Angela got a Mount Etna t-shirt. There was also there was a lot of lava sculptures in there as well. I didn't get any filming in there. It was really, really crowded and it would just gotten in the way. But just to let you know that they have that there as well. The view here is breathtaking. And again, this is an active volcano. And as a matter of fact, interestingly enough, when we left Sicily and were on the ship, about an hour after we left overnight, Mount Etna actually had another eruption. There were no injuries and no damage to the area we were looking at, but it was pretty wild that waking up and seeing on all the major news stories the next morning about how there was an eruption on Mount Etna only hours after we were on it. I thought it was really cool. Angela was absolutely terrified by it. As you can see, after our time on Mount Etna, we headed back down the road towards the base of the volcano through some really beautiful villages along the way. I filmed a little bit of it. I love the bus rides back and forth to these different sites as well. We just look out the window and just take in the local culture and the scenery, the cars, the types of plants, vegetation. Our bus driver was excellent. He gave us so much information all along the way that it was really, really nice, and we enjoyed it very much. Once we got back down to Catania, we got on a highway for the road to Taormina. Beautiful coastal road. Taormina was very interesting. It is perched really high above the sea, which we weren't expecting. We were expecting it to be kind of a coastal seaside town. As you can see, there are some resorts and some beaches along the sea right there. But it was, again, very unusual in that we had to go up a mountain, the side of a mountain. You can see a lot of these buildings are perched and built right into the sides of mountains. Really just amazing how these things were done. Now, as you can see, the roads are pretty steep, but the bus handled it well. We did experience a big hiccup when we got up to the top. The main bus parking lot for Taormina, which is located kind of under an elevator that goes up to the main part of the town, was full. So buses were backed up along the road pretty far, as you'll see in a couple of seconds. So, unfortunately, everybody had to get out, and we had to walk up the remainder of the way up to the bus parking lot, which you kind of see there. We were kind of towards the top, so it wasn't terrible. It was probably about a 15-minute walk, but it was uphill. It was along the road. There were buses right there, so we had some exhaust in the buses. It definitely wasn't a pleasant part of it, and it did eat into a good 15-20 minutes of our time to explore, which was very disappointing. But unfortunately, these are the types of things that you kind of have to expect when you travel. Not everything is going to go perfectly, and you really can't allow these minor hiccups and things to ruin your day. Now, there were probably about 45 people on our bus tour, which wasn't bad, and Disney Cruise passengers tend to be very responsible, but it's still, with that number of people, there was a lot of wasted time on the excursion waiting for people. We had to take we had to take an elevator from the bottom of that parking lot up into kind of a main waiting area over here, and unfortunately, because of the size of the crowd, we had to wait up here for everybody to kind of get together so that the tour guide could tell us, okay, you now have your free time and be back at this spot by whatever time it was that she told us to be back. If you were to do a small group tour on this, it would have been much better. There would have been a lot less wasted time. But again, our first time in Sicily and Italy, we went the safe route with the cruise line excursion. Now, honestly, I hadn't done a lot of research on Taormina before we got there, so I wasn't sure what to expect. I was kind of expecting something a little bit more flat right along the coastline, not something on the side of the mountains, and certainly not something like this. It was like something out of a postcard. Medieval streets, floral balconies, sea views along the way, which were really nice. We walked up the main strip here a little bit. Lots of shops, plenty of places to get t-shirts, local handcrafted goods, food. With the hiccup with the bus parking and a little bit of traffic issues, we probably only got about 45 minutes here, maybe an hour, probably closer to an hour. We did have enough time for Angela to get a gelato, which was one of her goals. The other goal was to get pizza. We really didn't have time to do that. We wanted to do a little bit of shopping, first time in Sicily. So, choices had to be made. Quite frankly, this is a place we could come back to. There were so many nice little cafes and shops along the way. This is some place we could come to this town and spend time here. No problem. Spend a few days at one of the hotels in Taormina. As you can see, very different than Mount Etna. Frankly, if I was to come back to Catania, if we had another port in Catania, I probably would skip doing Mount Etna again. I definitely would skip doing Mount Etna again. It was really nice to do once, but it's something you've kind of done once. And I would come here and I would just spend the day in Taormina. Again, just the architecture is beautiful. You'll see in a couple of minutes some really, really beautiful overlooks there. It just was very, very peaceful. It would have been really nice to do it in a non-hurried fashion. As we show you a little more of the streets of Taormina and the beautiful views and different shops that are along the way, if you're getting value of this video, please hit that like button. Comment below if you've been to Catania or you've been to Sicily and what you did and what you think we should have done. And also, if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. We have hundreds of videos on the channel on cruise ship reviews, port information, scams to avoid, all kinds of cruise tips. We're trying to add 2 to 3 videos every week if possible. And your support really helps us out very much. And we hope you're enjoying these videos. We take a few minutes to take some really beautiful pictures here and enjoy the local scenery. Angela and I are the type that are back at our meeting points 15 minutes before we have to be. That's just us. There are always those people that get there 5 minutes after they have to be, and unfortunately, that's one of the issues you deal with when you're dealing with the cruise line excursion, as they tend to be a little bit more crowded. Now, the good side about the cruise line excursion is that, as you can see there was a bit of a fire. There was a brush fire. By the time we got through, the traffic was not that bad, but this road was actually closed for a little while. For some of the earlier buses that took a long time to get there. So if you are booking through a third-party company, make sure they have a return to ship guarantee, that they will reimburse you if you're delayed. Most of the excursions that we book independently are through a company called Project Expeditions. I'll throw a link in the comments below. Most of theirs do have a return to the ship guarantee, and trust me, they do a good job at getting you back to the ship in plenty of time. Now, obviously, there were other excursions that we could have taken. Among them, there's winery tours that you could do. We could have spent the entire day at Mount Etna. There was some jeep adventures and some cave explorations. Obviously, spend a day at Taormina, which we'd probably do next time. You could also take Syracuse is about an hour away, and then that's the home of some Greek theater and Roman amphitheaters. Lots of history there. And you could also explore Catania. There is street food and walking tours there available as well. Now, one thing that a lot of people did was they got pizza to go in Taormina to bring back to the ship. You can see the person in front of me had it. A few people ate it on the bus. A lot of people took that or sandwiches back to go back onto the ship. Unfortunately, you are not allowed to bring non-prepackaged foods onto the ship. So when they went to get on the ship, they were told they couldn't bring it on. So there was a whole line of people next to the gangway that was scoffing down pizza before they got back onto the ship. So the lesson there is eat your pizza in one of the cafes if you have time, or eat it on the bus on the way back. Even with the hiccup on the fire on the road, which created some traffic and some issues, we still got back in plenty of time, as did everybody. Again, these excursions, if sail away is 4 o'clock, usually they're getting you back there by 3, so you have plenty of time. We even got back in enough time, as you can see, nobody's running for the ship, and we were able to do a little bit of shopping in that shopping area inside the terminal. This was beautiful, a little chalk art that they did. You probably caught it in the very beginning of the video with the dancers, but that was a really nice welcome too from the people of Catania. Catania was everything we wanted to be. Look at the beautiful waters, the scenery. We enjoyed every minute, even though we wish it would have been longer. We have volcanoes, we had coastlines, culture, shopping, food, beautiful view of Mount Etna there. Beautiful architecture. We'd really, really love to go back to Catania. Again, wrapping it up, if we were to go back, we probably would have skipped Mount Etna, which was fantastic. But, once we've seen it, we've kind of seen it. And we would have just really spent a day at Taormina. We could have easily spent 8 hours there walking around and just enjoying a little bit of food in one of those sidewalk cafes. Well, once again, don't let the little hiccups bother you on your trip. We hope you've enjoyed this video, and Angela waves goodbye to everybody. And until next time, we'll see you on our next adventure. Bye-bye, everybody.